squash and a squeeze. A little old lady lived all by herself, with a table and chairs and a jug on her shelf. A wise old man heard her grumble and grouse, "There's not enough room in my house. Wise old man, won't you help me please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your hen," said the wise old man. "Take in my hen, what a curious plan." Well, the hen laid an egg on the fireside rug and flapped round the room, knocking over the jug. The little old lady cried, "What shall I do? It was pokey for one, and it's tiny for two. A nose had a tickle, and there's no room to sneeze. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your goat," said the wise old man. "Take in my goat, what a curious plan." Well, the goat chewed the curtains and trod on the egg, then sat down to nibble the table leg. The little old lady cried, "Glory be! It was tiny for two, and it's titchy for three. The hen pecks the goat, and the goat's got fleas. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your pig," said the wise old man. "Take in my pig, what a curious plan." So she took in her pig, who kept chasing the hen and raiding the larder again and again. The little old lady cried, "Stop, I implore! It was titchy for three, and it's teeny for four. Even the pig in the larder agrees. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your cow," said the wise old man. "Take in my cow, what a curious plan." Well, the cow took one look and charged straight at the pig, then jumped on the table and tapped out a jig. The little old lady cried, "Heavens alive! It was teeny for four, and it's weeny for five. I'm tearing my hair out, I'm down on my knees. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take them all out," said the wise old man, "but then I'll be back where I first began." So she opened the window and out flew the hen. "That's better, at last I can sneeze again." She shooed out the goat and she shoved out the pig. My house is beginning to feel pretty big. She huffed and she puffed and she pushed out the cow. "Just look at my house, it's enormous now. Thank you, old man, for the work you have done. It was weeny for five, it's gigantic for one. There's no need to grumble and there's no need to grouse. There's plenty of room in my house." And now she's full of frolics and fiddle-dee-dees. It isn't a squash and it isn't a squeeze. Yes, she's full of frolics and fiddle-dee-dees. It isn't a squash or a squeeze. The Gruffalo's Child. The Gruffalo said that no Gruffalo should ever set foot in a deep dark wood. "Why not? Why not? Because if you do, the big bad mouse will be after you." "I met him once," said the Gruffalo. "I met him a long, long time ago." "What does he look like? Tell us, Dad. Is he terribly big and terribly bad?" "I can't quite remember," said the Gruffalo. Then he thought for a minute and scratched his head. "The big bad mouse is terribly strong, and his scaly tail is terribly long. His eyes are like pools of terrible fire, and his terrible whiskers are tougher than wire." One snowy night when the Gruffalo snored, the Gruffalo's child was very bored. The Gruffalo's child was feeling brave, so she tiptoed out of the Gruffalo's cave. The snow fell fast and the wind blew wild. Into the wood went the Gruffalo's child. "Ah, ooh, a trail in the snow. Who is this trail and where does it go?" A tail poked out of a log pile house. Could this be the tail of the big bad mouse? Out slid the creature, his eyes were small, and he didn't have whiskers, no, none at all. "You are the mouse, not I," said the snake. "He's down by the lake, eating Gruffalo cake." The snow fell fast and the wind blew wild. "I'm not scared," said the Gruffalo's child. "Ah, ooh, marks in the snow. Whose are these claw marks? Where do they go? Two eyes gleamed out of a treetop house. Could these be the eyes of the big bad mouse? Down flew the creature, his tail was short, and he didn't have whiskers of any sort. You're not the mouse, to-wit, to-woo, not I, but he's somewhere nearby eating Gruffalo pie. The snow fell fast and the wind blew wild. I'm not scared, said the Gruffalo's child. Ah, ooh, a track in the snow. Whose is this track and where does it go? Whiskers at last, an underground house. Could this be the home of the big bad mouse? Out slunk the creature, his eyes were fiery. His tail wasn't scaly, his whiskers weren't wiry. You're not the mouse. Oh no, not me. He's under a tree, drinking Gruffalo tea. It's all a trick, said the Gruffalo's child, as she sat on a stump where the snow lay piled. I don't believe in the big bad mouse. But here comes a little one out of his house. Not big, not bad, but a mouse at least. You'll taste good as a midnight feast. Wait, said the mouse, before you eat, there's a friend of mine that you'd ought to meet. If you'll let me hop onto hazel twig, I'll beckon my friend so bad and big. The Gruffalo's child unclenched her fist. The big bad mouse, so he does exist. The mouse hopped into the hazel tree. He beckoned, then said, just wait and see. Out came the moon, it was bright and round. A terrible shadow fell onto the ground. Who is this creature so big, bad and strong? His tail and his whiskers are terribly long. His ears are enormous and over his shoulder he carries a nut as big as a boulder. The big bad mouse, yelled the Gruffalo's child. The mouse jumped down from the twig and smiled. Ah, ooh, prints in the snow. Whose are these footprints? Where do they go? The footprints led to the Gruffalo's cave, where the Gruffalo's child was a bit less brave. The Gruffalo's child was a bit less bored. And the Gruffalo snored and snored and snored.